I think this is a great time of year to pause for a little bit and reflect on the previous year, where we're at, and then also where we're headed.
Welcome to the Semmax Way, the definitive podcast for mastering finance, investment, and retirement planning. Prepare to unlock the secrets to financial success as we delve into lucrative investment strategies and provide expert guidance towards a secure retirement.
Hi, Matt Landon, Semmax CEO here, and I wanted to take a few minutes and go over some things that I think are really beneficial to review more on an annual basis. A lot of times we get so busy living our lives day to day that things can kind of slip your mind and kind of pass through. And I think this is a great time of year to pause for a little bit and reflect on the previous year, where we're at, and then also where we're headed. So if it's all right with you, I was going to take a few minutes and do that from a financial perspective. The place to begin with, I think, is a little bit of reflection. Let's take a step back and see, how did this last year go? What kind of things went well? What kind of positives did you have? What were the surprises that you weren't expecting, but you're so glad had? Also, there may have been some negatives. What were the downturns? What were the unexpected things that took place? And how did you handle those? I think it's important to have a little bit of grace and give yourself a little bit of kindness when realizing there's a lot of things that go on in life and they're not always easy to handle. When it comes to your finances, there's a lot of volatility that's going on in the market. There's a lot of ups and downs there. And I think it's important to make sure you're positioned in a way that you can handle that volatility, both the upside as well as the downside. So when you consider things today, I would look at your different portfolios. I would look at your different funds that you have. And you may have had a job change in the last year, and it may be time to consolidate that old 401k in somewhere else. You may realize, well, I've been putting it off, but I have that old 401k from 5 years ago that needs to go somewhere. Or we have these different small accounts, but I haven't really looked at them recently or paid attention. Now's a great time to just kind of detail out what you have and where it is. With that in mind, I would start looking at it through the lens of taxes. The end of the year is a really good time to reflect back on the last 12 months or the last 9 months, depending on when you're starting this process, and start thinking through and say, okay, is there anything I can do now before the year closes that's going to positively impact my tax return in April of next year or when we do file our taxes? Another thing to keep in mind is this is a great time to start getting together a list of all the things you're going to need. So that way, when January and February roll out, you're not caught off guard. Lastly, I would say it's a really good time to start planning ahead for the new year. The end of the year can be the time that we take action on certain things that we've planned. This might be a perfect time to be executing some Roth conversions, but it's also a really good time to start thinking about the year ahead, what's going to be coming up, and what sort of changes to our tax situation do we need to keep in mind. I would say, as you're taking this pause, as you're taking this time to reflect and consider back, or looking ahead, because once you've looked backwards, that's the next step, is to look ahead. Put in mind, what is the one thing that you can do that's either going to make your life easier, that's going to reduce stress, or make all those other actions unnecessary? I know I have clients that will come in and say, well, I need to rebalance all of these old 401ks to make them aligned. But once I consolidated, it was so much easier to have an advisor who's looking after everything together. And I no longer have to worry about trying to keep up with all. Maybe it's planning ahead for some spring cleaning. Maybe it's doing some intentional charitable giving. When you think about those charitable giving, I would say it's really important for you to talk with your advisor about what you're giving and why, and the thought process around it. If you're over the age of 70 and a half, something like QCDs can be a really valuable tool to help you maximize your charitable giving. If you're under, or perhaps if you're over, it depends on your situation, a donor advised fund could be another resource that you may want to utilize. The big thing here is that I would say it's important to make sure that when we're giving and we're being charitably minded, we're maximizing what we're doing, reducing our tax implications, and making sure that that gift is being used where you want it to be in the most impactful way and getting the most bang for your buck. When I think about a plan review, I think it's important to look at how you're invested currently and have a conversation with your advisor about, do any changes need to take place? Now, when you put together a plan, I tell people this all the time, this is an ongoing plan. It's a living, breathing document. We're going to make adjustments. We're going to make revisions. We're going to make changes along the way. Because as I'm sure you've seen over this past year, the stock market changed. The financial markets are changing. Interest rates are changing. Bond portfolios are changing. Different investments may be attractive in one financial market, but may not be as attractive in another. Things like international exposure, what type of international exposure and how much you have. These are all things that we're doing behind the scenes for our clients. But if you're not a client, it's something you want to be considering and looking after yourself. Or having a conversation with your advisor and asking, are you doing this? And if you are, why? If you're not, again, why? I would also say now is a good time to look at your habits. What kind of financial habits have you built out? Where are you either spending money that you don't really feel like you need to, or you may be in the other situation where you've accumulated quite a bit and you're in a position where you don't feel comfortable spending it. Ask yourself why. Is there something that you could do that you've always wanted to do? Now may be a great time to start planning that trip or having a conversation with your advisor about, well, we've always wanted to go to, or we would like to see this happen. How do we make that take place? I would also say it's important to look at your habits as far as how they relate to everyone else. So often when we think about things, we do it by habit. Maybe now's the time to read a good book. And Atomic Habits by James Clear is a great place to start. Absolutely love. Maybe I need to start a new habit of sharing a book recommendation all the time. Well, think about it. I think it's also important that you do some auditing of your beneficiaries and how you have things aligned. We never want to hold off on those things until it's too late. And so that's kind of that monkey sitting on your back that once you take care of it, you don't have to worry about it anymore. But it's best to go ahead and get that done on the front end. Now, as I share these things with you, I don't want you to feel like this is just a massive to-do list, but I want you to think about it again as more so a list of things to consider, a list of things to look at. You might be in a position, particularly if you're one of our clients, where you say, well, really, we've already done a number of these things, and I feel comfortable with how my client's positioned. In which case, I would say that's wonderful. We still want to look at it periodically and see if anything has changed. When it comes to risk and your tolerance for market risk and the upside and the downsides, I think it's allowed to say your opinions may shift, your feelings may shift, and the way you feel about something today may not be the same way you feel about something 6 months ago. When you think about how the political environment is shifting constantly, that has an impact on your investments, that has an impact on your temperament, and I think we're allowed to evolve and grow over time. The key thing is making sure that your investments are working for your benefit and everything's aligned. One last thing. When we talk about your finances, at Semmax, we have a company mission. Our mission is to ensure our clients can focus more on their lives and less on their money. This is something that I believe in very strongly because I think it very closely aligns with the core ethos of being a fiduciary, which is the way our firm is set up. We want to be a fiduciary-based firm. We want to make sure that our clients are taken care of. And when you think about this, if you find yourself going, I have all these concerns, I have all these worries, talk to an advisor. We're here to help. But I would also hope that, like I said, for many of our clients, you're just feeling like this is a checklist of things I've already done. Well, that's a good thing. It's not a bad sign when you've already taken care of things. But regardless of where you are on your journey, know that it's okay for things to change. And regardless of the changes, whether it's external or whether it's internal, we're here to help. I thank you for the trust that you put in Semmax. We have an immense amount of gratitude, and as a team, we love what we're able to do for our clients, and we look forward to serving you throughout the next year.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Semmax Way. If you're not completely satisfied with your current financial advisor, give us a call for a second opinion. Please note that this podcast is intended for informational and entertainment purposes only. The content shared on the Semmax Way should not be considered as investment advice. It is always recommended consult your licensed investment representative and a competent tax advisor respectively for your fiduciary needs and plans. No statement contained in the Semmax Way podcast or made by its producers, sponsors, host Matt Landon, or Semmax Financial Group is a recommendation. Semmax Financial Group and Matt Landon are not responsible or liable for investment value loss of any kind from any action taken based on information discussed in the Semmax Way podcast. Any opinions or viewpoints in this podcast are shared for information and entertainment purposes only and are not financial advice. We do encourage you to conduct further research and seek personalized advice for your specific financial circumstances. Full disclosure available at semmax.com/podcast. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to having you tune in for future episodes of the Semmax Way.